Today, Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, is visiting Ireland. He's meeting with our new president. He himself and his wife, they're just coming back from a trip to the United States, where they met up with President Trump. And President Trump is wishing for Vladimir to agree to a 22-point peace plan for Ukraine. And coincidentally, this is on the back of a few weeks ago, Vladimir Zelensky and some key aides in his team have been charged with corruption to the tune of hundreds of millions of euro or dollars, I'm not sure. But on top of that, the president, President Donald Trump, has jumped on the opportunity to press Vladimir Zelensky to agreeing to a 22-point peace plan. And as it transpires, those 22 points came directly from President Putin, as I understand. And now there's great pressure on the Ukrainian president to agree to those terms. Since my last podcast on the situation in Ukraine, little has changed. Literally, the Russians are advancing, but it's at a snail's pace. And a lot of the towns that I was talking about in my last podcast, I mentioned Pokrovsk. It was under threat of invasion. It's still under threat of invasion. Over the last year, Ukraine has produced over 6 million drones for their drone warfare. Those drones consist of reconnaissance drones, killer type, bomber type drones. You have decoy drones. You have drones, mothership drones. You have AI drones. You've got carbon fiber optic drones. The drone warfare has come to a point now that they are saturating the battlefield. And like I said, the Ukrainians produced over 6 million last year, which equated to something like 6 drones per kilometer of battle line per day. They plan on producing over 20 million drones over 2026, which means that instead of seeing 6 drones a day, you could be looking at 30 to 50 plus drones on the Ukrainian side on the battlefield. Likewise, the Russians have increased their production of drones as well, and it's a race basically to see which side is going to produce the most drones. The winners of that race will then be able to saturate the battlefield, overrun defenses, and continue whatever the war is. Likewise, just there over the weekend, in the port city of Novorossiysk, it's a major oil port town. It came under significant attack by the Ukrainians. How they did it was they literally flew drones in and overwhelmed the Russian air defenses, and they followed up with advanced Neptune missiles, ballistic missiles, which then targeted port infrastructure and oil infrastructure. Also, over the weekend, 2 Shadow Fleet oil tankers were attacked off the coast of Turkey. They weren't sunk, but they were disabled to the point that they cannot be used. They've been hit just below the waterline, which means the next time those tankers take on oil, they'll sink. So they're useless now. So economically, on the Russian side, the Russians are facing a very bleak winter. Likewise, the Ukrainians. And it's definitely well confirmed now at this stage that well over 1.5 million Russian soldiers are dead on account of this particular special military operation. And the only argument that the Russians have for that is that they lost 27 million Russian soldiers in the Second World War. So it's it's amazing that Russian people are still willing to follow the commands of their commander in chief. So if the only way for Putin to stop the war is if Putin's terms are met, and of those 22 points, I won't go through them all tonight because I don't have the memory for them. One of those points was that he doesn't want to deal with Vladimir Zelensky. So if that's the case, if Ukraine was to have Vladimir stand down, I can only see, I'm assured to realize that there are generations of younger Ukrainian politicians who will easily take up that position, and they would have far less dirt on their hands, and they would be far more effective. So I would agree with that point. Another point that Putin wants is that he wants the Ukrainian military, to be stood down. So even currently the Ukraine defense forces comprise of over 1 million men, 1 million. Even if they were to drop their numbers to Irish Defence Force numbers at around 7,500, 8,000, that doesn't mean anything, because when you think about it, there's 5 years there's Ukrainians there with 5 years experience in logistics and warfare. If they needed to be called to arms again, there's 1 million plus ready and raring to go, and those skills will never be forgotten. They'll always have those skills. So for the next 50, 60 years, the country of Ukraine is reasonably safe in those terms. And another point is Putin wants to have the Donbass and the Crimea. What's he going to do with them? Like the infrastructure in those territories have been destroyed. The Kerch Bridge has been attacked so many times. Like it's questionable whether or not they can repair that bridge or renew that bridge. Furthermore, all the dams that supplied water into Crimea, they've all been blown up. Like there's a significant amount of reinvestment and rebuilding to be done in those areas. And who's going to rebuild them? Like, will there be Ukrainians there to do it? Are the Russians, are Muscovites and people from St. Petersburg just going to migrate down into the Donbass to rebuild it? Not a chance. Not a chance. So, like, what more can he do there? So all those points that Putin has wished for, it stinks. It absolutely stinks to say it, but he's dealing like a livestock dealer. He treats us all like livestock, and if it takes a couple of cowboys like Trump and Zelensky to deal with them, then so be it. That's all I have to say. Take care.